Hi, this is Ted. Today I'm going to be talking about prophets. And what I want to do here is address this as if you are a prophet watching. It could happen. I tend to think most prophets don't want to look at people like me or anybody who is of a different opinion. Before I go on, I do want to say what I'm offering could be very, very critical and crucial and helpful to you. The first thing I do want to mention is something called hindsight bias. And I want you to ask yourself, do you have hindsight bias? What is hindsight bias? As I'm reading about people who study the future for the economy, for politics, for horoscopes, for weather, for sports, these people tend to have, even the best of them, there is a common pattern, and it's called hindsight bias. They look back and think they were far more accurate than they really were. You will probably look back and say, in fact, you probably have told people how accurate you are. But I want you to be more honest with yourself. Your eternity depends upon it. Other people's lives depend upon it. So what I want you to do is look back. I want you to start recording stuff if you haven't already. And give dates to it, what you're recording. And in the future, you're going to look back on those recordings. And you're going to be asking yourself several questions. Now, before I move on, I do want to mention some of the people who have the worst hindsight bias is not just the ones who are forecasting, and this happens across the board, not just prophets, but fans of the forecasters. Somebody will write a book about the economy and they might just spot on. They hit something. Even though most of their stuff doesn't happen, that one thing did happen. And for that reason, they become very popular. And they build a fan base. And those fans begin looking for other things that happened. Say, look at this guy's really good. The same thing's going to happen with you, even if you're wrong half the times. Now, even with hindsight bias, and I'm assuming you have it, we do, we're human beings. Look at that. And even if you think God has given you everything, well, I do have a question for you. First of all, then, why do you use a verse like 1 Corinthians 14 if you do? Why do you think it's a learning process? The Bible never had prophets who were in the learning process. Now, some will say 1 Corinthians 14 where it says, let the prophets speak 2 or 3 and let the others judge. I think it's a poor reading of that verse. Even so, I would say, I don't think this excuses the fact that you believe that God is giving you this, and you're telling people God gives you this message when in fact you give leeway, you give an opening for maybe it's not, because I'm just learning. This morning I was watching Mario Murillo, and honestly, if you ever do something like this, you do need to do some major repenting or changing or something. I'll tell you what. Mario, first of all, he excused himself. I understand. I think if I were in his shoes, I would too. He says basically, I never prophesied that. And he was honest. He said, nevertheless, I did support these people who did, and I wanted them to be right. I'm not sure exactly how I put it, but he did that part okay, did that well. I don't take anything away from him for that. But then he turns the whole thing, and rather than making excuses for his friends, he tries to get his audience redirected away from the fact that they failed and get them redirected to another issue. Okay, I can't think of any examples offhand. Maybe if I'm in a fight with my wife or something, and I want her to get off the subject. I want to get off the subject. So I changed the subject real fast to something else she's really upset about, just to get it off me. That's what he did. He says Christians shouldn't be arguing, about this, because there's a bigger issue involved, and that is the election was stolen. That is not a bigger issue. Okay, a prophet's talking from something other than God is not a minor issue. And that needs to be addressed. That needs to be addressed more than the theory that the election was stolen. And the election being stolen, even if it were true, that is human politics. It will never be more than human politics. All right, here's what I'd like you to do to help cover yourself, to protect yourself, and to see if you really are giving in to something called hindsight bias, or if you are being genuine. You need to record everything you say, as much as you can. Record dates, when it happens, what you say, to whom you say it. Then you need to look back on those. Give it a year or two. If you have something on YouTube or something already written down, recorded, and it's from the past, look at it now. The sooner the better, actually. Ask yourself, number one, was the prophecy general? God is going to bless you. Talking to a friend, talking to a loved one, talking to something. God has given me this word. God is going to bless you. God has given me another word. You are special to God. Those are general, very general. Next, was what you said ambiguous? And that's neither bad nor good. Was it ambiguous? Oh, by the way, I should put that in prophecy point of view. God's going to bless you, or you're going to be special. You're going to have something special happen to you. Was it ambiguous? Ambiguity is... ambiguity means that you can read it two different ways, at least. For example, metaphor versus morality. When I was in Florida going through Bible school, Assemblies of God Bible School, there was a prophecy that took place back in the 70s, down south somewhere in South America, Central America, I'm not sure where. But the prophecy came and everybody heard about it on our campus. The prophecy was that there was going to be a wave that was going to hit Florida. That created panic among students. Now, this is ambiguous. Are we talking a spiritual wave? Are we talking a physical wave? Students took it physically. We had one guy who actually quit school and went back home up north. And a teacher who I loved his sense of humor started walking around the campus with a surfboard in hand. He was criticized for that, but I loved it, and I thought it was perfect. So is it ambiguous? Is it general? Was the one that you're looking at. And by the way, don't pick ones that you know you're going to win on, because even a monkey throwing darts at a dartboard can hit the bullseye once in a while, all right? Ambiguity and generalizations. Don't say anything. Either way. Next, now we get into where the rubber meets the road. Did the prophecy you give, did it have timelines? Did the event happen? And you need to be genuinely honest with yourself. Don't hide behind ambiguity. Don't hide behind generalizations. Did the prophecy give timelines? And if you have timelines, don't move the marker. The last question I have, was the prophecy clear and precise? Those are the ones that are best for looking at. Now, I've heard a couple of very precise prophecies. They're going to be hard to get out from under. If you say revival is coming in 2021, and then you describe that revival as earth shaking, as billions of people coming to Christ, which I've heard, that is going to be clear and precise. When 700 Club says President Trump will be the next president, that's clear and precise. Those are the things you need to look at. Those are the things you need to say, I was wrong. I did not hear from God. I was misled. Are you willing to do that? If you look for excuses, and by the way, this is a human behavior, to try to justify yourself, try to protect your position. That's human behavior. You are supposed to be following God. You are supposed to be following Jesus Christ. And my question to you is, will you? Or will you continue to hold on to something because of either pride or because you put so much into it and you just don't want to see it all disappear? All right, this is Ted. You have a good day.